The desperate call. The crystalline spires of Xanthari Prime had never witnessed such chaos. For over 2,000 years, the Xanthari Coalition had maintained perfect harmony across 12 star systems, governing through consensus and wisdom rather than force. Their society had evolved beyond the primitive concepts of war and violence, creating a utopia where conflicts were resolved through meditation and understanding. That peaceful existence shattered when the first reports arrived from the outer colonies. High Counselor Thys pressed her elongated fingers against the quantum communication array, her silver skin reflecting the emergency lights that bathed the Coalition's command center. Around her, beings from 6 different species worked frantically at control stations, their usual calm replaced by something the Coalition hadn't experienced in millennia: fear. The holographic display before Thys showed the galaxy's outer rim, where red markers indicated systems that had gone completely silent. In the past 3 weeks, 17 colonies had vanished without a trace. No distress signals, no evacuation alerts, no survivors. They simply stopped existing. "Show me the Kepler 442 system data again," Thys commanded, her melodic voice carrying an edge of desperation. The display shifted to show the former agricultural hub that had housed nearly 4 billion Xanthari citizens. Where once a vibrant star system had thrived, now only empty space remained. The star itself was gone, along with every planet, moon, and artificial structure. In their place floated strange metallic debris that seemed to pulse with malevolent energy. "The analysis is complete, High Counselor," reported Dr. Valen, the Coalition's chief scientist. His 6 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of extreme distress among his kind. "The entities responsible appear to be mechanical in nature. They consume entire star systems, converting all matter into energy for their fleet expansion." Thys felt her breath catch. "The Void Swarm," she whispered, recognizing the ancient term from historical texts. "But they're supposed to be extinct." "Apparently not," Valen replied grimly. "Our long-range sensors indicate they're moving in a direct line toward our core systems. At their current rate of consumption, they'll reach Xanthari Prime in 6 months." The command center fell silent, except for the hum of quantum processors working overtime to calculate impossible odds. The Coalition had never faced a threat that couldn't be reasoned with, negotiated with, or peacefully resolved. Their entire civilization was built on the principle that violence was never the answer. "What about our defense fleets?" asked Commander Xeris, the Coalition's closest equivalent to a military leader. His scaled hide had turned pale blue with anxiety. 18 ships responded to the Arcturus system attack, Thys replied, her voice barely audible. They attempted to establish communication with the swarm, offering relocation assistance and resource sharing. The swarm consumed them along with the system. The weight of 18,000 lives pressed down on the command center. Every being present understood the magnitude of their situation. The Coalition's greatest strength, their ability to find peaceful solutions, had become their greatest weakness. "There must be something," Valen insisted, his 6 eyes searching the tactical displays. "Some weakness we can exploit, some technology we can develop." "In 6 months?" Thys shook her head. "Our weapons are designed for containment and crowd control. Our ships prioritize comfort and efficiency over defensive capabilities. We've spent 2 millennia unlearning the art of war." As if summoned by her despair, the quantum array chimed with an incoming transmission. The source coordinates made several technicians gasp in surprise. "It's from the Sol system," reported Communications Officer Lyra, her feathered crest standing on end. "The species that calls themselves humans." Thys frowned. The humans were a recent discovery, a primitive species that had barely achieved faster-than-light travel. Their world was classified as a Class 7 death world, with gravity and atmospheric conditions that would kill most Coalition species. Why would they be contacting the Coalition during a crisis? "Put them through," Thys ordered. The holographic display shifted to show a human female in what appeared to be a military uniform. Her face was weathered but determined, with eyes that held a hardness the Coalition had never developed. Behind her, Other humans worked at stations that looked distinctly different from Coalition technology. More angular, more aggressive. High Counselor Thys, the human said, speaking in accented but clear Galactic standard. I am Admiral Sarah, Chen of the United Earth Defense Fleet. We've been monitoring your communications regarding the Void Swarm threat. Thys blinked in surprise. Admiral? You have military ranks? Yes, ma'am. We've been tracking the swarm's movements for the past month. Our deep space sensors picked up their energy signatures. Chen's expression grew grim. We know what you're facing. Then you understand the gravity of our situation, Thys replied. We've sent diplomatic envoys to attempt communication, but the swarm appears to be purely destructive. They cannot be reasoned with. Something flickered across Chen's face. An expression Thys couldn't quite interpret. High Counselor, with respect, diplomatic envoys won't stop the swarm. They're not interested in negotiation. Then what do you suggest? Thys asked, though she dreaded the answer. We're mobilizing our fleets to assist you, Chen said simply. ETA to your outer systems is 72 hours. The Coalition Command Center erupted in confused murmurs. Valen leaned forward, his 6 eyes wide. Fleets? Plural? Affirmative. We're deploying the 3rd, 7th, and 9th battle groups, along with supporting vessels. Approximately 800 ships total. Thys felt her world tilt. 800? How many beings live on your world? 8 billion, Chen replied. And every one of them is willing to fight to protect innocent life, regardless of species. The concept was so foreign to Coalition thinking that Thys struggled to process it. But you barely know us. Your species has only been in contact with our outer monitoring stations for a few months. High Counselor, Chen said, her voice carrying a weight that transcended species barriers. When someone's family is in danger, you don't ask questions. You act. Behind Chen, Thys could see other humans moving with purpose and efficiency. Their equipment looked different from Coalition technology. Harder, more utilitarian. Everything seemed designed with conflict in mind. What do you require from us? Thys asked, still struggling to comprehend the human's offer. Tactical data on the swarm's capabilities and your civilization's defensive resources, Chen replied. We'll need to coordinate our forces with your ships. High Counselor, Commander Zaris interjected quietly. Our vessels aren't designed for warfare. They're exploration and research ships. Chen's expression softened slightly. We understand. We'll provide escort and protection while you focus on evacuation and support operations. The transmission included data packages that made Dr. Valen's equipment chime with incoming information. As the scientist reviewed the files, his 6 eyes widened progressively. High Counselor, Valen whispered, their technology. It's all weaponized. Ship designs, resource allocation, manufacturing capabilities. Their entire civilization is structured around the concept of armed conflict. Thys felt a chill run through her crystalline form. Admiral Chen, may I ask why your species has developed such extensive military capabilities? Chen was quiet for a moment, her expression distant. Because our world taught us that survival isn't guaranteed. We learned early that sometimes the only way to protect what you love is to be willing to fight for it. But surely peaceful resolution is preferable to violence, Thys insisted. Always, Chen agreed. But when you're facing an enemy that views your existence as fuel for their expansion, peaceful resolution isn't an option. Sometimes you have to fight to preserve the peace. The philosophical gap between the species was enormous, yet Thys found herself drawn to the determination in Chen's voice. There was something about the humans that the Coalition had lost somewhere in their evolution toward perfect peace, the willingness to make hard choices. What will you need from us? Thys asked finally. Detailed star charts, swarm movement patterns, and evacuation routes for civilian populations, Chen replied. We'll handle the military aspects. As the transmission ended, Thys found herself staring at the tactical display where red markers continued to spread across the galaxy. For the first time in weeks, however, she felt something she had almost forgotten. Hope. Dr. Valen approached her station, his scaled hide having returned to its normal green hue. High Counselor, I've reviewed their military specifications. Their ships are designed for sustained combat operations. Their weapon systems are extensive. Are they sufficient to stop the swarm? Theiss asked. Valen's 6 eyes blinked in sequence. High Counselor, according to these specifications, a single human battle group could potentially eliminate our entire defense fleet. If they're deploying 3 battle groups, the implications hung in the air like a promise. Theiss looked around the command center at her fellow coalition members, beings who had spent their entire lives believing that violence was never the answer. Now their survival depended on a species that had apparently spent their entire existence learning to fight. Prepare the quantum arrays, Theiss ordered. We're going to learn from the humans. Outside the command center, across the coalition's 12 star systems, billions of beings continued their peaceful lives, unaware that their salvation was coming from the most unexpected source, a young species from a death world who had never learned to give up. When Earth answers the call, the first human ships arrived at Coalition space like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant, watching as her fleet materialized from hyperspace, in perfect formation. Behind her, the 3rd battle group deployed with mechanical precision. Dreadnoughts that bristled with weapon arrays, cruisers designed for long-range engagement, and carriers loaded with fighter squadrons. Admiral, reported Commander Jackson, her tactical officer, all ships report ready status. The 7th and 9th battle groups are holding position at coordinates Tango 7 and Delta 4. Chen nodded, her eyes fixed on the tactical display showing the approaching void swarm. The mechanical parasites moved through space like a cancer, consuming everything in their path. Behind them lay empty systems where billions of lives had been snuffed out in moments. Dr. Webb, Chen called to the civilian scientist attached to her crew. What's your assessment of the swarm's capabilities? Dr. Marcus Webb, a tall man with graying hair and intense eyes, highlighted sections of the display. They're incredibly efficient, Admiral. Each unit appears to be both a weapon and a factory, capable of converting consumed matter into additional swarm units. The mathematics suggest exponential growth. Weaknesses? They're purely mechanical. No biological components, no individual consciousness. They operate on collective programming, which means they'll be predictable once we understand their patterns. Chen turned to the communications array. Patch me through to High Counselor Theiss. The coalition leader's image appeared on screen, her silver skin reflecting the bridge lights. Around her, Chen could see other coalition species working frantically at their stations, their usual calm replaced by barely controlled panic. Admiral Chen, Theiss said, her melodic voice carrying both gratitude and concern. We've been monitoring your fleet's arrival. The scale of your response is overwhelming. This is what we do, High Counselor. Chen replied simply. When someone needs help, we respond with everything we have. But the risk to your people, Theiss continued. You're placing thousands of lives in danger for beings you barely know. Chen's expression grew thoughtful. High Counselor, may I ask you something? If you saw a child drowning, would you jump in to save them? Of course, Theiss replied without hesitation. Even if you didn't know the child? Even if saving them put your own life at risk? Yes, but that's all this is, Chen said. Scaled up. Your people are in danger, and we have the capability to help. The choice is simple. The concept seemed to puzzle Theiss, but before she could respond, alarms began, blaring throughout both fleets. The Void Swarm had accelerated their approach, their mechanical units moving faster than predicted. Admiral, Commander Jackson called out, Swarm units are engaging coalition ships at the Kepler 186 system. The locals are requesting immediate assistance. Chen's demeanor shifted instantly from diplomatic to military. All ships, battle stations, 3rd Battle Group, move to intercept. 7th and 9th groups establish perimeter defense around coalition core systems. The transformation of the human fleet was extraordinary to witness. Ships that had been moving in loose formations suddenly locked into tight battle configurations. Weapon systems that had been powered down came online with deadly efficiency. Fighter squadrons launched from carriers, their pilots already calculating attack vectors. "High Counselor," Chen said to Thys, "I recommend evacuating any non-essential personnel from the engagement zone. This is going to get messy." Thys nodded, still staring at the tactical display in amazement. "Admiral, your ships, and they move like they're alive." "Good crews, good training," Chen replied, "and a lot of practice." The first engagement began 12 minutes later. Coalition sensors recorded the battle with clinical precision, but the reality was far more chaotic than any data stream could convey. The Void Swarm units moved like a living tide of destruction, their mechanical forms shifting and adapting as they encountered resistance. The human response was swift and devastating. Dreadnought-class ships opened fire with weapons that could crack moons, their targeting systems finding weak points in swarm armor with surgical precision. Cruisers provided covering fire while destroyers darted between enemy formations, their speed and maneuverability allowing them to strike at critical systems before retreating. "Incredible," Dr. Valen whispered from the Coalition Command Center. "Their tactical coordination is beyond anything in our databases. Each ship knows exactly where to be and when to be there." But it was the human fighters that truly amazed the Coalition observers. Individual pilots in small craft engaged swarm, units 10 times their size using speed and creativity to outmaneuver mechanical perfection. They fought with a combination of skill and reckless courage that defied logical analysis. "Fighter Squadron Bravo 7, you have 3 bogeys on your 6, came the voice of a human pilot over the communications array. "Copy that, Control. Dancing with them now." The Coalition watched in fascination as the human pilot executed a series of maneuvers that should have been impossible, using gravitational fields and debris to confuse the swarm's targeting systems. When the pilot finally fired, all 3 enemy units exploded in perfect sequence. "How do they do that?" asked Commander Zaris, his scaled hide flickering with colors that indicated deep confusion. "They think like individuals," Dr. Webb explained, having patched into the Coalition's communications. "Each pilot adapts to the situation in real time. The swarm can't predict that kind of creativity." The battle raged for 6 hours. Human ships took damage, and the Coalition watched in horror as several vessels were destroyed. But what amazed them most was the response of the surviving humans. Instead of retreating or mourning their losses, they fought harder. "Admiral," came a transmission from the UES Valiant. "We've lost main engines and half our weapon systems, requesting permission to ram the Swarm Command Unit." Chen's voice was steady over the comm. "Negative, Valiant. We don't trade lives unnecessarily. Fall back to repair position." "Admiral, that command unit is coordinating the entire attack. If we take it out now, we can save the system." "I said fall back, Captain. That's an order." "With respect, Admiral, my crew knew the risks when we signed up. We can end this." The silence that followed was heavy with implication. Finally, Chen's voice returned, thick with emotion. "Valiant, you are cleared for ramming speed. It's been an honor serving with you." The Coalition watched as the damaged human ship accelerated toward the largest swarm unit, its remaining weapons firing continuously. The impact when it came was visible across the system, a brief star that flared and died, taking the swarm's coordination node with it. Without their command unit, the swarm units began operating independently, making them vulnerable to human tactics. The tide of battle turned quickly after that, with human forces systematically destroying the mechanical invaders. When the last swarm unit was eliminated, the Coalition expected the humans to celebrate their victory. Instead, they began immediate search and rescue operations, looking for survivors from their own damaged ships, while simultaneously offering aid to Coalition vessels. "Admiral Chen," Thys said during the post-battle debrief, "your people fought with incredible courage. But I must ask, how do you bear the cost?" Chen's expression was tired but resolute. "High Counselor, courage isn't the absence of fear. It's acting despite the fear. Every person in this fleet knows that what we do here might be the difference between survival and extinction for billions of innocent beings. But the sacrifice is worth it," Chen finished. "The crew of the Valiant didn't die for nothing. They died so that children on worlds they'll never see can grow up safe. Over the following weeks, human and coalition forces worked together to eliminate the remaining swarm units. The humans taught basic defensive strategies to coalition species, while the coalition shared their advanced sensor technology and energy manipulation techniques. The cultural exchange was remarkable. Coalition beings learned about human concepts like duty, sacrifice, and protective instincts, while humans were amazed by the coalition's ability to solve problems through cooperation and shared wisdom. "Your species is fascinating," Dr. Valen told Dr. Webb during one of their joint research sessions. "You've managed to maintain individual creativity while working as a coordinated whole." "We had to," Webb replied. "Our planet taught us that cooperation and competition could coexist. We fight together because we understand that alone, we're vulnerable." The final battle came when the swarm's main hive ship was detected moving toward coalition space. It was a massive construct larger than most space stations, carrying enough mechanical units to consume entire star systems. The combined human coalition fleet met it at the edge of known space. The battle was fierce and desperate, with human ships forming a protective barrier around coalition vessels, while the aliens used their advanced technology to disrupt the hive ship's control systems. In the end, it was cooperation that won the day. Coalition energy manipulation techniques combined with human tactical thinking created a weapon that could penetrate the hive ship's defenses. The swarm's threat ended not with a massive explosion, but with a quiet shutdown as their central intelligence was finally severed. As the fleets returned to coalition space, Thys found herself changed by the experience. Her people had learned that sometimes peace required the willingness to fight for it, while the humans had discovered that their protective instincts could extend far beyond their own species. "Admiral Chen," Thys said during the final debrief, "your people have given us something we lost in our pursuit of perfect peace." "What's that, High Counselor?" "The courage to protect what matters most," Thys replied. "We will never forget this gift." Chen smiled, looking around at the mixed human coalition crews who had served together. "High Counselor, I think the gift went both ways. You reminded us that the goal isn't to win wars, it's to create a universe where wars aren't necessary. The alliance forged in the fires of conflict would last for generations, with human military expertise and coalition wisdom combining to create something neither species could have achieved alone. They had learned that sometimes the most important battles are fought not for conquest, but for the simple right to exist in peace. And across the galaxy, children of both species would grow up in a universe made safer by beings who understood that true strength comes not from the willingness to fight, but from the wisdom to know when fighting is necessary and the courage to do what must be done.